If we could take a step back to the discussion about fear a little bit. So Mike Tyson talks about this process of him walking to the ring. He sounds similar to you in many ways of the anxiety and the fear that he experiences. And he has this sort of story that he tells about walking to the ring and being supremely afraid. But as he walks and gets closer and steps in, he finds the confidence and becomes supremely confident. I think he calls himself like a god. I feel like a god in the ring. Is do you go through a similar process of finding the confidence?
Well, yes, and I use James Lange theory. They so what I do is, because I'm not afraid to admit that I'm afraid. And in the beginning of my career, I asked myself, because I was very good in mixed martial art, but I really thought I wasn't made for this, because the idea of fighting didn't make me happy. It's something like I was forced to do in order to keep that lifestyle that I have and achieve my goal, perhaps one day to make enough money to retire, and that was my dream. But when I was looking around the gym where I was training, most of my training partners, they were happy, they were excited, and sometimes I corner a lot of guys, and they're happy, and they're in the locker room. They don't react the same way I do. Some perhaps does, but if you see me in the locker room, like when I get, like, my last fight with Michael Bisping, just to give you an example, in my last fight with Michael Bisping, because it's fresh, it's the one that is the most recent, but it's always the same thing. My last fight in my Bisping, I get in the locker room, I had like three guys that I train with: Mickey Gall, Eamon Zahabi, and Joseph Duffy. They all lost. It was my locker room was basically cursed. When you're in a locker room and people from your locker room leave for a fight and then they come back, it's kind of a momentum. You shake and, yeah, good job. Now it's my turn. It's kind of a team brotherhood sort of thing. So the 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 atmosphere in my locker room was pretty bad. It was like going to like a funeral. So I was very scared, and before every fight, I ask myself always, shit, what the hell I'm doing here? Why did I choose to come back? Oh my god, and I'm freaking out. However, I'm putting on a mask, like I'm acting, because if I don't do that, it will reflect on my coaches, and if my coach, the confidence of my coaches is affected, it will reflect on me. So I need to feel strong. I need to make them believe that I'm excited to be there and I'm happy to be there. So this sort of play start when I first step in the locker room, even though I feel completely different, but that's how I play it. Normally, the fight day, I never feel 100%. I always feel exhausted, tired. My eyes are hitching because I don't sleep enough the few nights before, because I'm constantly rehearsing scenarios that might happen in the fight. So mentally, it's not that I'm not on top.
But you keep all that to yourself.
I keep it to myself, and I'm lying to everybody around me. But everybody knows, Ferraz, Jonathan Ahern, they know Freddie Roach, because they've been with me for a long time, so they know what's going on. But at least I'm lying to them. I'm like, hey, I'm feeling great. So, and seeing all my training partner like very disappointed because they lost their fight, some were badly hurt as well. It was hard. So, and I remember I start the warm up and everything. And as you start the warm up, you become a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we know that certain posture in yoga can affect your mental state. But I would say it's a little bit the same thing in fighting. Like when you start hitting the pads, your muscle memory, your instincts comes back, and you remember that you're good at this, and your confidence start to grow. And as seeing your trainers holding the pad and repeating your moves, it makes you also remember all the sacrifice you have done through your training camp. And confidence come from how you prepared yourself. And even you're afraid, you can be confident in the same time. Being afraid and being confident is two different things. And before every fight, just right before I walk in, it's when I'm scared, I go in the bathroom and I look at myself in the mirror. I used to have a bandana and a gi, but now no more. I didn't have this for my last fight because of the new Reebok deal they had. But I did the same rehearsal that I always do. I look at myself in the mirror and I start to compliment myself. Like, even if I don't believe it, I'm trying to believe it as I am. I'm finding all the reason why I'm going to win the fight. And all my trainer knows that before every fight, when the guy from the UFC goes and step in my room and says, St-Pierre, you're up next, I always take a few minutes to do that same rehearsal. And I tell myself, I'm going to win this fight because I'm better. And I'm very cocky about myself. I'm telling all the reasons that why I'm gonna win. I got a better team. I made more sacrifice, I'm faster, I'm more powerful, way more athletic. My fighting IQ is better than him. I got a strategy on point that he's never gonna be able to keep up with, and this and that. And I was telling myself, I'm gonna show these young kids how things should be done. Trying to boost myself. Yeah. Try to boost yourself, and you start to believing it. You become a different person. So when you walk out the bathroom, now rock and roll. Now I really believe it for real. Like, I'm still scared, but I believe it for real. And that's the transformation that happened for me right there. And from there to the fight, it's until the fight is over. I call it cruise control. Because you don't have time to think in a fight. If you're trying to think, you're missing the opportunity. So that's how I see it for myself.
So at that point, you stop thinking and you just go cruise control, autopilot.
Trust yourself, Trust yourself, because you repeated all the scenarios, So everything that you have done, it's inside your computer. Your computer, your brain is programmed to react accordingly to certain situations. And it's not the night of the fight that you'll tell yourself, oh, finally I'm gonna do this if you do this. No. If you have not practiced it before, you're screwed. The preparation, the repetition that makes it happen.